Well, I've got a really amazing guest speaker today. Well, it's not really a speaker in this instance, but we're just having a conversation today, and I am going to let him introduce himself to you. Go ahead, my friend.
Phillipa, hi, good to see you again. For all out there, my name is Lefford Fate. I'm a speaker, trainer, coach. I'm also the support services director for the city of Sumter here in South Carolina. What may be more interesting to many here, besides being a coach, is that I am a veteran of the United States Air Force who actually has I'll air quote it, rating of a disability based on things that happened to me while I served in the military. And of many of the people who have served active duty in the United States forces, I know this is international, I have had diagnoses and have disabilities. So
Mm.
I think it's appropriate for us to have this conversation today and to see what we can do to help each other and find out why we do what we do and sometimes why we don't do what we could do. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, it's wonderful to see you, and I always find that when we have conversations, Lefford, it's always very, very profound. And you also not only do you do things for um, the Air Force and everything, and been in the Air Force, you've also been involved with the Napoleon Hill Foundation and the Napoleon Hill Institute. If you want to tell us a little bit about that, your role in that.
Okay, and I'm a leader and trainer for the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I'm actually an author. I've just finished writing a book called Everybody Speaks for the Napoleon Hill Foundation, understanding that communication is key. And also we're looking at a program now that the name's not quite there yet, but we're talking about hope and wealth and different diverse populations of people, how they might become wealthy and understand what wealth is. As a member or a master coach for the Napoleon Hill Institute, I'm a coach, moderator, and trainer, and also a speaker trainer for them. Again, helping people understand how to use their voice and how to use all the things that they have. All of us have certain gifts, Philippa, and we don't always use our gifts to the highest level because sometimes we don't know that we have them, and sometimes we don't know how to use what we have. And so, one of my jobs and passions is to help people realize those things.
Yeah, and that's actually how we met, through the training that you provide, speaker training that you provide, and teaching people to tell their stories.
Yes.
And this is where we had the most profound conversation about disability, because you obviously were sharing about the Royal Air Force and things like post-traumatic stress disorder and everything like that. And for people that don't know, I was born weighed £2 2 ounces, so less than a bag of sugar, and I was born 26 weeks premature, but I'm still here and I'm
Right.
meant to be here and I've got a purpose. And we had this really amazing conversation that just lit up, illuminated things for me in such a way that I understood that my disability didn't actually matter and my perceptions about myself as a disabled person didn't matter. Can you remember how that conversation went? I've got it written down beside me, so
I do as if it was yesterday, and I remember asking you a series of questions.
you did.
And would you say, because most people talk about what they don't have versus what they have.
Yeah.
So I remember, and I'll just say this. I remember when I left the military, and I got to be honest, it's been 13 years since I left the military. And I remember I had some evaluations and they made a comment that said I was 20% disabled. And that's what they said, you're 20% disabled. And I thought, okay, so you can easily say I'm 80% able. but they said that. So the line of questions I asked you was, if you were this, would you say you're able or would you say you were disabled? And
I, I tell you the first thing you asked me, you said, you used to think you had a disability, but what you've learned is to have a whole lot of abilities. That's what you
yeah,
said. And then you said, take a number like 100. You can use 95% of that 100%. Would you say you have 95 things, or would you say you don't have 5 things? That's how it went.
yeah. And that's what I'm saying. And it came from that. It's like it's really easy for somebody to say you don't have this or you're 20% disabled. Like, and it's powerful. What something that just came up to me right then when I looked at you. Um, and it's this. Often we allow people to tell us who we are instead of us identifying who we are. And I don't know why that just came up, but I just looked at you and I said, wow, if somebody says that we're this, and it doesn't matter what anybody says to us, it's what we say about ourselves.
Yes.
Um, Even when somebody says something good. Um, there's a great saying that we're beautifully and wonderfully made. Beautifully and wonderfully made. And we only hear that on Easter and Christmas. Um, but could you imagine if we internalized that we were beautifully and wonderfully made?
Yeah.
That would almost wipe out a lot of the disabled mindset. I mean, let's be honest. There are facts. There are things that have happened. That you can. I walk a little slower. I stoop a little lower. I see less well.
Well,
Those are
sweetheart,
all
I walk
facts.
I walk as if I'm permanently drunk without the alcohol.
Yes, yeah. But even with that, that's fact. But think about all those other things we can do. So I'm that's the motivation side of me. But I'm excited about this conversation for a couple of reasons. One, how do we see ourselves? And then are there resources that we can share in this conversation that are going to help people have a shift in their mindset to take whatever they have
Mm,
and do it and do the best they can with it. Take our gifts because our gifts will make room for us and place us before great people. And
yeah.
and how do we do that? I'm excited to get into that conversation.
Well, besides the conversation that we had, the other profound thing that I took from being around personal development was in the book Think and Grow Rich. Within the first few pages of that book, Napoleon Hill says, this material is for everyone.
Oh yeah.
And that word, everyone, jumped off the page at me as if it was speaking to me alone. Because I'd had that paradigm in the beginning when I first started looking at this material. I watched The Secret, I'd done some courses with Bob Proctor and PGI. That this wasn't going to work for me because I'm not a perfect human being. I haven't got a perfect outer shell. You know, this was the paradigm that I had in my head, and I thought, it's a waste of time me doing this. I had all this inner chatter going on, which was not the truth, And what I'm doing, well, my purpose is to normalize the conversation around disability in all areas of life. So within personal development, within society, within history, with all those areas, to change it so that we can sort of like wipe away some of these preconceived ideas about disabled people and these preconceptions, and just really change things. So not only that it makes the material more accessible for that side of our communities, but that it makes a physical, tangible transformation in people's lives as they begin to learn, as they begin to take action on things that they want to do. Because at the end of the day, we can all get off our backsides and do something,
Hmm.
and we can all make a difference somewhere to someone every single day. And so, from that point of view, my definiteness of purpose is always remained that to make this conversation about disability in the world a lot more clearer and very different. And so I set up a non-profit called AIMS, which is Accessibility, Inclusion, Mindset and Service. And what it is, it's giving access to disabled people personal development courses through Napoleon Hill Institute, through other coaches that I know, that I've worked with, through other companies that want to partner up with me. I mean, Cleona O'Hara, who's CEO of Napoleon Hill Institute, she's been amazing. She is giving through the Institute 50% off to all people that can prove that they have got a disability. So once we get that statement from a medical practitioner or something like that, or a government paperwork to say that that person is disabled, they get 50% off all the courses instantly.
Mm.
And then it's about me supporting them through those courses, doing one-to-one coaching with people, and really making a difference that way. Because I've spoken to a lot of people over your side of the pond who have actually said that when they go to get a job, they lose their care, they lose their support, their financial support. So oftentimes disabled people in the States can't get a job because they'll lose all that help. And so that puts them in a financial difficulty straight away where they can't fund their own courses. So that was one issue that I wanted to completely get away from, so that when you have a conversation with a disabled person, the money isn't going to be an issue. So if AIMS can sponsor people to be able to do courses, or a disabled person can pay 50% less for a course and fund themselves, then that's a wonderful opportunity for them. Plus they get my support all the time. And I want to do like regular once a week Zoom meetings with people to support people wherever they are in the world. I'd like to do my own self-discipline camp with the disabled community. I'm not going to get them to get up at 5:30 in the morning though, but a more reasonable time, should we say, and things like that, and just really see how that could make a difference.
That's an honorable goal and desire. Why do you feel that people with disabilities, you notice I don't say disabled people.
Yeah.
If I have the flu, I'm not fluous. I have the flu. I have, I'm not cancer. I have cancer.
Mm.
It's something that I have, right? So that just how I use my words. Why do you think people that have a disability feel that personal development is not for them? Or is that a thing? What are their thoughts on it? Or what are our thoughts on that?
Well, that was my perception originally. I can't
Right.
speak for anybody else and say, that that's definitely how other people feel, because they might feel completely different to me. I think maybe the community don't necessarily know about it, know about personal development, and know the difference that it could potentially make to their lives. I think it's just having an awareness, first of all.
Yeah.
And I think from there, people will then make up their own minds whether they is something they want to look into and pursue.
Yeah. And the benefits to them, because, as I'm listening and I'm thinking about this, are we not putting the information out? Is there a fear that, I can't change, I can't be better? Is there a fear that I'm going to lose benefits, but what are the benefits? I think making everyone aware that these opportunities are out there, I think that's a powerful step. I don't know if it's a first, 10th, or 100th step, but I think that's a powerful step.
Yeah, well, when I spoke to Cleona about it and I was explaining the concept of what I wanted to do, she'd obviously done her research and looked into it, and she said, what you're offering is the first of its kind in the world in the personal development industry. So that blew me away to think that, yeah, I'm offering something first of its kind. And eventually, as things take off, it's going to be groundbreaking for people. That's what I truly believe. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been given this purpose in the first place. So, but also I think that I'm going to say disabled people because academically that's what I'm taught to say. You don't say people with disabilities, you say
Got it.
disabled.
No, no, no. I understand.
Yeah, but I would say that also disabled people have in their mind that society limits them also because of their preconceptions and their thoughts of what it means to be disabled. I'm not going to say her name, but my best friend, when I first met her, gosh, 11 years ago, she actually said to me she was frightened of me because she didn't understand disability. And that, at the time, it was quite hurtful. But, once she got to know me and once I explained what had happened to me and everything, she began to understand it. And she's got a son with autism.
Mm.
So um, it's just breaking down those barriers of perceptions and thought, that people have. Because you assume if you see somebody who's using a wheelchair, you think, oh, their life must be pretty rubbish. They probably can't work. They probably can't have children. There's a perception that other human beings don't want to date people with disabilities, for example. So they might not get married. There's all these conversations around disability that are quite negative. So,
Mm.
of course, as a disabled person, it feeds into your paradigms that you already have or that you've already been told since you were knee high to a grasshopper that you just take on board. Uh,
Right.
and it's like any paradigm, you've got to break it down, you've got to reject it and plant new positive thoughts in there. And that's what it's about. It's about disabled people seeing who they actually really are as a human being, what they actually want to achieve. And yes, they can achieve it, but it's like, they do need support from other people in terms of giving them the confidence, the self-esteem, and all of those kinds of things to do whatever they want to do, just like anybody else, whether they're disabled or not, because there are people within the personal development community that when they come in, if they're on a Zoom call, for example, or doing some training, or they're on the self-discipline camp or whatever, they might not even turn their cameras on because they don't want to be seen.
True.
So it's all about building up that self-esteem, that self-confidence. And once you've helped somebody to do that, you can then look at helping them find their definiteness of purpose, find out what their goal is, and start helping them to take the action steps they think they should take to achieve that. So yeah.
That is awesome. It's pretty interesting to me, but I'll ask the question because I know you're interviewing me, but what first step, what is a first step that you can do to help somebody that's disabled or have a disability see that they can be who they want to be?
Simple. Just changing their mindset, helping them to change their mindset. The first thing to do is to reach out and have a discovery call with people. Get on a call with somebody, find out what their life is like, find out, what they're passionate about, what motivates them. And if they haven't got any motivation, find out why they haven't got any motivation, and just have those conversations and say, well, things could actually be different, if you looked at things from a different point of view. It's as simple as that. A 30-minute to a 60-minute discovery call can make such a difference. Like the conversation that we had, that was a short conversation within a group training that was had, but it made
It,
such a profound difference.
it does, but one of the discrepancies I see is that it's almost like who you know and who you actually run across. Because if you weren't interested in Napoleon Hill Institute, and if Don Green hadn't called me and say, "Can you help this Napoleon Hill Institute out?" we would have never crossed. And somebody else could have told you that same thing. But
Mm.
again, I think it almost needs to be like a commercial. I mean, where it's in front of people, because if you don't stumble upon something, you may never figure it out. I
Exactly.
live, there's probably 3 or 4 McDonald's between my home and my work. McDonald's does not leave it to chance for you to come in and get one of their burgers, or as you would say, a beef burger. Uh, no, no, they don't take that for chance. It's out there in everybody's face. And they're saying these golden arches, this McDonald's is great, it's awesome, you gotta have it. Um, I think people of all walks of life need to hear that personal development is special for them. And disabled and people with disabilities needs to know that there's a way. Because again, if you don't have enough time to be on a, if you spent 12 hours a day and you could get 2 people per hour to do a 30-minute discovery call. I'm not going to do public math, but you would only be able to get around 24 or 25 people per day. And that's not doing anything else except asking them who they're on, what's going on.
Yeah.
Um, there's important part to that, but it's got to be known. People got to hear that they too can have what they want, whether it's a conference, whether it's commercial, whether it's flyers within places that serve people with disabilities or disabled people. It's got to get out there. And for anybody's listening to this, whether, I know you're a part of the AIM community, but if for you or for somebody you know, um, maybe the question is, all of us say, do you know how special you are? Do you know that you're worth a lot? And there are resources out here to help you realize who you are.
Yes.
Because you are not your diagnosis, you are not your disability, you're not your ability, because we're more than that.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
we're wonderfully, beautifully made. Um, my son Luke was a preemie. He was in the infant, was it NICU, and he was like teacup baby. He does not look like a teacup baby now.
Oh,
He does not look like a teacup baby now, 40 years old, and he's a big, brawny, albeit a little bit arrogant. He must have got that from his mama. No, but no, but when you know that it's possible, when you know that you can, there are resources out there, and then when you take that on, that shift in mindset, when you take that on and say, I can, it's possible, and then get the resources in hand, then that's where you go. So again, I just think we need to get the word out, and people need to know. And once the word's out, the resources are there. That's why I love what you're doing. I love what Cleona's doing, because yeah, the resources are there and here for this price, you can get that. But
yes.
if you don't think you're worthy, if you don't think it's possible, if you don't think it's accessible, it's going to be really hard to do all that. But awareness is key, I think.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. And so part of getting that message across is telling my story and sharing as much as I can on social media with what I'm doing and how I'm coaching and doing like free book studies and all that kind of thing. It just really helps for the momentum to pick up. And once a few people start to come in and do some of the courses, whichever ones they choose to do, and they can see it making a difference, it's all word of mouth. It's all word of mouth.
That is powerful.
It's the testimonials that will make the difference.
Yeah, yeah, that's powerful. That's quite powerful. I'm excited because again, as a veteran, and many military veterans across the world struggle with things. They have these disabilities. And sometimes we're in a position where we think our best was in our past.
Mm.
I heard Eric Thomas, they call him the hip hop preacher. He's number one motivational speaker in the world today. And he says his prayer is that may the rest of your days be the best of your days.
Oh,
Could,
that's wonderful.
yeah, could you imagine if we can get that message out there that the rest of your days can be the best, that there's more forward for us than what we've gone through, and
Mm.
that we are able, because again, I like to go back to that. I'm not disabled, I am able to do
Yeah.
many things. And let's imagine if you took hold of what you're able to do. I mean, how powerful of a concept is that if you just sat down and said, what if I could grab what I'm able to do? And somebody was able to teach me or coach me or help me grab what I'm able to do.
Mm.
There's a principle that's called the Pareto principle. You may have heard of 80-20.
Yes.
If there are 10 things to do, there's 10 things to do. We won't have time to do all 10. But if we pick the two most important things and we put a buttload of time into those two things, I mean, just like went at it hard and got very, 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 very good at those two things, it can fundamentally change our lives.
Yes. Well, that's what we do in mentorship, isn't it? Is get the customer, the client, to focus on one particular goal for that 9 months to a year, however long they're on the course with us, so that they can really focus on that, because that's so important. Otherwise, if you've got like 10 different goals, your focus is all over the place, and you're doing bits here and there for each goal, but you're not really achieving anything.
Yeah. And just go deep, go hard, spend a lot of time. Spend a lot of
Yes.
time. One of the principles that Napoleon Hill often talks about is budgeting time and money. And I'll never forget it as long as I'm alive. He talked about we get 8 hours of sleep, but we should get our rest. 8 hours of work, and then we got 8 hours of free time. So imagine if you join Phillipa's coaching or mentoring book club, and you said, I got 8 hours of free time. Imagine if you spent 2 hours a day, 5 days a week on your number one thing. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 hours. Going at your definite major purpose, going at your goals, going at your vision, going at your health, just 10 hours on your most important thing. Your most important thing. How long do you think it would take you to get really good at your most important thing?
Not long at all.
I remember starting a process like that, Phillipa, and something changed. And I stole this from a guy named John Maxwell, but it's working for me. After a few years, you'll get to the point where you're saying, not how fast I can get there, but how far I can go.
Yeah.
How
Wow.
far can I go? How far? How much better? How much stronger? How much healthier? How much richer? How much loving? How far by doing all these different things. So again, what you're doing is praiseworthy. I think it's amazing. I think that I do think that people need to hear about what's possible. And then once they know what's possible, then a roadmap on how to get there. Not tell them where to go. I
No.
don't believe in painting people into a corner, but I do
No.
believe in shining a light in the corner so people can see the possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's being a mirror for people, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, a guide, a mirror, just and it's powerful and it's available. It's available because again, many times you don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm a Black American, and I grew up in the '60s and '70s in Georgia. I grew up not far from where Dr. Martin Luther King was killed, and I grew up in a time where, based on the color of your skin and your socioeconomics, you were seen in a particular light.
Yeah.
And I had a mental disability because I thought I was less than. Not only did I think I was less than, I believed that I was less than. And that's a crippling thing.
And what you've just said there is, I believe, how disabled people see themselves.
Yeah. I'll say it's a crippling thing.
Yeah.
And so based on that, when you can see above that, when you can get above this hopelessness thing, and you can see the possibilities, what coaching will do for you, what personal development can do for you, then you see possibility. I always go back to possibility and hope. You get this like,
Yeah.
maybe I
And
can.
you also know that you are enough.
Yeah.
You realize that you are enough.
Can I go somewhere with that?
Of
Because
course.
and the reason I want to say this because it's offensive to a lot of people in the personal development world. Um, I have not always been enough. There's some things that I had to do. Now, I'm enough in the eyes of God. I'm enough as a person, but I had to when I played basketball, I didn't jump high enough. So I had to work out, run, practice, do push-ups, eat better. So I had to become more than I was. Not that there was anything wrong with me, but I had not exercised my full potential.
Yes.
So I'm very careful when I say somebody, I was not enough. I was enough to start, but I wasn't enough to be there. Because
It's about,
I'm not just gonna say I'm going to show up and I'm going to be a coach. I got to put in some effort, some
yeah.
work, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm not a great reader. When I was a child, I was not a great reader. I'm an amazing reader now, even when I have to do these things.
Are those
But I
glasses are so
wasn't enough as a first grader. I wasn't ready. I wasn't enough, but you become more. It's not necessarily what you get out of life, it's what you become. And so we're forever evolving.
yeah.
So there's an opportunity for all of us to get better. So nobody gets it twisted where I say you're not enough, but this is a start and it's a growth process.
It's, it's about having the self-discipline to keep going once you start. And
Hmm.
it's about what Napoleon talks about with pleasing personality, developing those traits within your character that will allow you to keep going and attract the people and the resources to you to help you get where you need to be.
The pleasing personality is very important. It is. It's one of the most important things out there. But there's somewhere in the book that Gorechi said that if you got the discipline down, you, it takes care of all the other principles. Because with discipline, you can work on your definite measure, and you're going to not stop until you're done. You're going to be persistent. You're going to budget time and money. You're going to be a saver. You're going to go after something and learn from adversity and defeat. You're going to do all that stuff because you got the discipline to keep moving forward. You will not be turned. You will not, just because you fail, you will not lose your enthusiasm for your ultimate goal. So uh, it is having purpose and having discipline will get you to a lot of places, even when you don't necessarily, because not everybody has a pleasing personality up front.
That takes work.
It takes work. And to me, everything takes work. That's why one of the biggest principles for success is going the extra mile.
Yeah.
So again, this whole thing of personal development is learning what to do because you don't know what you don't know. There's so much. I don't believe that there's a silver bullet for anything. I think there's many little bullets that you can use to take things and go further. But I think a great start is to realize that it's possible and that you're able, and that there's a proven path to success. There is, and Phillipa, you have the means to help people understand that. And when you do that, I think you're going to be a huge impact. Not going to be, continue to be a huge impact for the people who you wish to serve.
Oh, thank you so much, Lefford. Do you know what? It's been lovely to connect with you again. And because the last time we were connecting, I was coaching you, and you were sat in your car, and we were talking about how you use your time and things like that. That was quite an interesting call, and you're so full of wisdom and really amazing guidance, and you do it with such generosity. And I just thank you for your time on this call today. And I thank you for everything that you do for the foundation, for the institute, for all of us coaches, and for the community. You are such a blessing.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate, I'll tell everybody, you're so kind, Lady Phillipa of Sutton. You thought you're gonna let that go. But no, thank you for that. But I'll tell you, I recently had to shift gears. I recently had to shift gears because I'm not sure what you guys know, but I recently had a death in my family.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
And is Lefford Fate passed away due to a car accident. And I was stuck and didn't know it. I was stuck and didn't know it because I'm a worker, I get stuff done. There are a lot that I'm responsible for. So I was just going. And I was dropping some things. I was dropping things because I was like, let me just keep my head down and keep going. And I realized that sometimes we have to shift gears um, to go into a lower gear, to do less, to take care of yourself more, to get people around you more. There are things that we have to do. And it's not necessarily knowing how, because I am very competent in knowing how to do things. But there's a thought that we got to know when to do things. When do you shift gears? When do you say, this is enough? I need to go to the next level. I need to work a little harder. I need to rest a little more. I need to spend time with friends. I need to spend time at work. And that is an important thing. And when I realized that I was burning myself out and weighing myself down, and I got help from people around me to shift gears. I think that's what a coach and a mentor does. That
Yes.
you said something about being a mirror.
Yes.
Sometimes people that are listening to this, sometimes you are doing the best you can with what you know. But if somebody comes to you and they're a guide, they're a mirror, and they're like, are you hearing that? Are you seeing that? Or how are you feeling about that? That person can help you shift gears and make you move forward, help you elevate, help you take care of self. So anybody within the sound of my voice, and if you know this lovely lady, go talk to her. Let her help you figure out how to shift gears. Because again, you may know how, but you may not know when. And I can promise you that you will get great value out of it. Because while I was coaching and helping you, you were coaching and helping me. That is a powerful, powerful thing, and it is a gift.
Mm.
And for those of us who are either consider ourselves disabled or have disabilities, sometimes we do need somebody to guide us along the way and to whisper in our ear that we're enough and that we're going there and that there's something for us out there that is possible. And I will end with this. You are able, you are more than able, You are wonderfully and beautifully made. And there's a lot more out there for you. Just grab on and let's go.
Oh gosh, that's an amazing sentiment. Thank you so much, Lefford. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you.
Yes. This is a long time coming. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome.